Hello everyone, and welcome to Retail Archaeology and Desert Sky Mall in Phoenix, Arizona. It's been over 4 years since I last visited this mall, and I've gotten a lot of requests lately to go back and take another look at it. This place opened in 1981 as Westridge Mall originally. It was developed by Westcor and is now currently owned and managed by Macerich. The architect for this mall was Rafiq Islam, who was also the architect that designed Desert Sky Mall. Here's a look at the map of this place, and it's a single floor mall with the anchor stores having multiple floors. A lot of the comments and messages that I've gotten over the years about this mall have all said something to the effect of that I need to go check this place out again because it's now a dead mall. Funnily enough, a lot of the messages that I got several years ago telling me that I needed to take a look at this place the first time that I did were also messages telling me that this was a dead mall. And I didn't think it was a dead mall 4 years ago, and I don't think it's a dead mall now. I'm not quite sure why so many people think this is a dead mall. Now you'll notice there's Christmas decorations up. This was actually filmed after Christmas on a Tuesday in the middle of the afternoon. This is a 360-degree shot from the mall's center point, and you can see here this is not a dead mall. This is a lot of people to be in the mall on a Tuesday afternoon. It is right after Christmas, but still, this is not a dead mall. There's too many storefronts that are still open here. We didn't see very many empty storefronts at all, really. There are a lot of mom and pop type shops, but there are also a lot of your common national mall retailers here as well. And of course there are some big skylights here because this mall was designed by the same architect that designed Paradise Valley Mall. And there's the Burlington, one of the mall's anchors. That was originally a Montgomery Ward. And right next to the Dairy Queen is the Mall Arcade. And it's an actually halfway decent arcade. There are a few actual video games around. I do like that Aliens game, but it is really tough. And you've got some driving games, you've got your typical skill cranes, a couple of air hockey tables, and there's actually people in here using some of the games. Again, these are not signs of a dead mall. And I'm actually glad that it seems to be doing okay. The first time that I visited this mall like 4 years ago, I really enjoyed it. It's one of the few old malls left. You know, it opened in 1981. A lot of the other old ones are either closed or torn down. And things have been updated over the years, but you can still tell that this is an older mall. I really do like those Art Deco style lights that are up in the ceiling here. And this mall has some things that I don't see in a lot of other ones. For example, this lounge area where the bathrooms are. They've got some vending machines and things in there as well. But you can see it's pretty big. I have to imagine that was originally some sort of storefront or something. And there's also a community center here. That's not something else that I see in a lot of malls anymore. And here's another shot of that lounge area so you can kind of see how big it is. And surprisingly, this mall still has its payphones around all over the place, at least some of them. None of them seem to be working though. And this one seems to be a little banged up. But it's still neat to see them. I'm noticing that Quest logo on there. That Quest hasn't been Quest in ages. Now they're CenturyLink out here. You can see as we walk around, there are quite a few mom and pop type shops, like I mentioned, dotted around the place, but you'll notice there's not a lot of empty storefronts. So it seems like these mom and pop shops must be doing, okay enough to stay in business. And the mall must be doing well enough that there's enough demand to keep the storefronts filled. And we're coming up on the Santa Claus area where they were doing the Santa Claus pictures. Obviously they're not doing that anymore since it's after Christmas, but it's neat to be able to see it's still set up. And this isn't a terrible Christmas display. It's not great. I've seen better, but I've seen much, much worse also. This mall does have a Spencer's, and like I said, it does have quite a few of the other very common mall stores that you would see. But there is also lots of the mom and pop shops, and I'm sure you've noticed a lot of the mom and pop shops have Spanish names. This mall does cater to the local Latino community, which was a very smart move, I think, on this mall's part, and is what's kept it alive. I'm really hoping one of the reasons that people call this a dead mall isn't because they walk in here and see a lot of storefronts with Spanish names, because that would just be gross. This is not a dead mall by any stretch of the imagination. I wouldn't say it's a thriving mall either, but I would say that it's a mall that's adapted well enough that it's doing okay. I mean, there are things here like this Grail Stop store. I got a good laugh at this because obviously it's the same fonts and everything as GameStop, but it looks like they sell sneakers, probably to sneakerheads, like buy and sell shoes. I always love seeing knockoff GameStop signs. Just because a mall has a few weird stores like that in it doesn't make it a dead mall either, though. Every mall is at least struggling a little bit. I mean, a lot of them are still doing okay, but every mall has a few weird stores like that in them now. And here's another look at that center court. And look, there's a fountain. But it's not working. But I guess we can do some fountain cam anyways. But yeah, no water, just a sock, unfortunately. I wonder if this fountain's been here, maybe not since the mall opened, but I'm sure it's been here for years. It also looks like it's been out of order for a long time. And here's the Dillard's, which is now a clearance center, but it wasn't a clearance center the first time we were here. This was a former Diamonds department store, and I really loved this the first time we came to this mall when this was just a regular Dillard's. This area that we're walking into now was like the jewelry and perfume counter, and there was this really awesome mirrored ceiling up here at the top. This whole building, this whole store just oozed 80s aesthetic, but unfortunately a lot of it is kind of gone now because it's just a clearance center and things have been reshuffled and reorganized, and it looks like they're not taking as good of care of things anymore. I do have a whole video tour of the store though, back when it was awesome. And over here in this alcove is another payphone. This is a pretty dark alcove. Anytime I come across a payphone, I have to check it and see if it works.
We've been trying to reach you concerning your...
I've heard of Great Clips, but this is Best Clips, and there's nothing better than Best, so they've got Great Clips there. And also they'll be before Great Clips in the phone book. Do you guys remember phone books? I am old. Now, even though I have a lot of positive things to say about this mall, there was another reason that I wanted to visit here and why I thought maybe it would be doing poorly, and that's because in the last year and a half or so, there has been 3 shooting incidents at this mall. The first one happened when a fight broke out between a group of people and ended up with a guy in his early 20s shooting and killing a 17-year-old. After that, there was an incident where a guy tried to carjack 2 people in the parking lot and shot 2 of them. Fortunately, nobody died though, but the carjacker ended up being shot and killed by the police in the parking lot. And then most recently, there was an incident where 2 customers came in to complain to a kiosk owner. An argument ensued, and the kiosk owner and one of the customers ended up pulling guns on each other, and that resulted with the kiosk owner shooting both of the customers, killing one of them, which was a 17-year-old boy. Honestly, I would think a mall going through 3 situations like that in a year and a half would really put a damper on the foot traffic and probably kill the mall, but that doesn't seem to be the case here. Now, when Mark and I came to this mall, we knew about the one shooting incident, the most recent one, but we didn't feel unsafe or anything at all walking around here. However, I didn't know about the other 2 previous ones until I started doing research for this video. But really, watching the footage again, I would feel completely safe walking around this mall. It's, fairly clean and well kept, and it's not derelict or dead, and everyone that was here seemed to be having a good time. I got a good laugh at that storefront sign, American Freedom. They've got American Freedom for sale, I guess. I don't know if that says anything. Anyways, this mall does have one empty anchor store, which was a former Sears. And, usually it's not surprising when a Sears closes. This one closed a few years ago. This one, when Mark and I were here the first time, was actually very busy, and it was also a very nice and clean Sears, very well stocked. And really, really busy. So I was really surprised that this particular Sears closed before a lot of other ones. The video from 4 or so years ago does have footage of the inside of that Sears when it was open. And of course we've got to take a closer look at that skylight there. Now here's another weird thing this mall has. There's this hallway called the corner shops. And it's just the most bizarre thing. It's all of these little storefronts shoved in this hallway. But surprisingly, there wasn't a lot empty back here either. There's that one that looks like it's being used for storage, but then there's some hair salon places back here. I think there's an eyebrow threading place. There's a reflexology place there. So somehow they've managed to find more leasable area back here that's actually being leased out. It's just so bizarre and cramped though. And it's weird, but I like weird. Yeah, it's just kind of this L-shaped hallway, and when you go through it, it just spits you out into another part of the mall. I don't think I've seen anything like that in any other mall that I've been to. It's kind of neat though. Now if we follow this trail of garland, or whatever you want to call that, this leads into the food court. And I don't believe I had footage of the food court in my first video, so I was glad to get this. But as you can see, it's a pretty busy food court. Gus's Pizza, Wings, and Subs. I bet that's actually pretty good as far as mall pizza goes. It smelled really great in here too. But we didn't end up eating here. We ate somewhere else, which I'll show you in a bit. But first, another look at another payphone that Mark and I found. Hardly ever see these anymore. Yeah, but as busy as this is and as interesting as the food sounded, Mark and I knew that there was someplace better to grab lunch, which we'll take a look at shortly. Now, down at the end of this corridor is a former Mervyn's department store, but it's been transformed into something else, which I think is awesome. This is the Mercado de los Cilios, pardon my awful Spanish pronunciation, but this is basically a little mini mall built out within this old Mervyn's store. I've heard people describe this as a flea market, but it's really more than that. There's actual little storefronts in here. There's cell phone repair places, there's little shoe stores, there's little hair salons. It's a really interesting little mini mall concept of all just local mom and pop shops. Now, we did notice that this place wasn't super busy on a Tuesday afternoon, and it seems like a lot of the storefronts are only open on the weekends or like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but you know, there's still a few people walking around in here. But what's great about this place is there's food in here, and it's delicious. Now right here is a little restaurant that's set up. It's like a walk-up counter where you go up and order from the counter, and that place is really great. But then there's also more food in here, which we'll take a look at in a second. There are lots of custom t-shirt places in here. Lots of little cell phone stores. There's a couple that sell shoes. There's one that sells like work shoes specifically. I think this is a really cool use for a building that would just otherwise sit empty. And it also has its own little food court area besides the restaurant that we saw. And it's not hard to find which corner this is in because you can smell it right when you walk in here, and it smells amazing. I wish smell-o-vision was a thing. Everything in here looked and smelled delicious, but we noticed there was a machete azteca there. Again, pardon my horrible Spanish pronunciation. But this place is delicious. We actually ate at one of these when we filmed Christown Spectrum Mall. They have these things called machetes that are basically big quesadillas with all kinds of different fillings you can get in them, and they are just so good. I don't think I've had this since we filmed Christown Spectrum Mall and ate at the one there. The hot sauce was delicious, and of course you've got to get the Coke from Mexico. This place gets a lot busier on the weekends, and it's definitely worth visiting just for the food. And here's another one of the really big skylights in this mall. You can't really call it Desert Sky Mall without having some way to see the desert sky. Like I mentioned, we got here in the early afternoon on a Tuesday, and the longer we were here, the busier the mall got. Other dead malls that I've covered, like Fiesta Mall, Metro Center Mall, Paradise Valley Mall, even Superstition Springs Center, which is still open, don't look like this on a Tuesday, after Christmas. Yeah, I don't think this is a dead mall at all. I just think it's an older mall that's still hanging on. And I enjoy it because it still has some older mall aesthetics, like all of that wood paneling there, for example. There are quite a few storefronts that have some of what looks like their original wood paneling. When discussing this mall, at least for the time being though, there's always going to be that huge elephant in the room of 3 shooting incidents in the last year and a half. I am really amazed that that doesn't seem to have killed this mall. I think part of that is because the local community seems really loyal to this place. And like I said earlier, I never felt unsafe walking around this place. Now, if that pattern continues and there's more incidents like that in the near future, that could possibly still be a nail in the coffin for this place, but it seems to be holding on for now. I've only been to this mall twice now. It's over an hour and a half away from me, so it's not somewhere that's exactly super easy for me to get to, but I enjoyed my time here on both of the trips now. I guess I just wish with, all of the messages that I've gotten telling me this place is dead that maybe people would just be a little bit more open-minded about malls like this. That's going to wrap up this visit to Desert Sky Mall. What are your thoughts on this mall though? Is this a mall that you grew up going to? It's over 40 years old now, so I'm guessing there's a good chance that there's a lot of you out there that used to come to this place. I would have loved to have seen it when it first opened, but I was a baby. Now let's head back out underneath the desert sky. Want to see your name here? Head on over to patreon.com/Retail Archaeology to find out how you can help support the channel. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out this update on Desert Sky Mall. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and also make sure to follow at the social media links down there because that's the best way to keep up with what's going on with the channel.